And then I press record to the cloud. Okay, I hope it's
well, it says that it's streaming, and it probably says, it also says it's recording, so I think it should be okay. And if it's not, well, you know.
Oh, no. Yes, I think it's recording. Great.
Okay.
So good morning. So I do the opening talk. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to be here on the eve of Sukkot. Usually it's like I wait the whole year for this time because this is the time when Ani Losang is in Israel and we can enjoy a few weeks of teaching and inspiration, and this year we can't have it, so at least we have the Zoom, and I'm very happy and excited to have this weekend. The teaching are recorded and you can see them on our YouTube channel, and I'll put on the chat the link. And we have many other classes and teachings that also are available there. One more thing is that if you can, if it's possible, then it's nice to have the camera on, so Anila can see faces and not just black screens, and it feels more like a community or a sangha. So only if it's possible and it's convenient. And one last thing before we start, as always, all our activities are done in everybody's volunteering, and everything is offered without a price tag. And we'll be very happy if you can, if you feel like it, donate. I'll put also in the chat a link to a PayPal or a bank account, and you can give Dana, practice generosity, help us continue with all these activities. And after we cover the expenses, all the money goes to our teacher. So it's also a way to show our gratitude for everything that Anila gives us, which is quite priceless. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Anila.
Oh, wow, you're very welcome. Thank you, Gidi. So yeah, usually at this time of the year, we start the Lamrim retreat, isn't it? Which then what we are going to do today, if you integrate it into a Lamrim retreat, it kind of makes more sense, because the Four Immeasurables are quite an advanced thing, and it's the preparation for bodhicitta, the preparation for the mind who really wants to oneself, to liberate oneself, to be free from under the control of our wrong views and negative emotions, and not just for my sake, but really for the sake of, in order to be able to lead other people to that state. So this is a very high state of mind, because it's absolutely everybody. You know, it's not just the victims and the nice people or animals. It's like really everybody. So our mind at the moment is kind of, you know, like a field that is not so well prepared, I think, for this. Of course, you know, I don't want to insult you. I know that many of you have been practicing for many years already, but you know, when we look at, are we really able to have an open heart towards all beings, to really wish them well, like all beings, no matter how they behave, no matter what they do? Sometimes it needs very little for us to kind of deny them that they should be happy, isn't it? So one thing is, in order to practice this path, what you need is also a form of like honest introspection, so that we see where we're at. Because sometimes we can go, again, we're not very equanimous towards ourselves. So we can be very low, far too low, and or we can be far too high up and we think we're really advanced. But then as you listen to the teachings, then we start to see, oh, wow, maybe no, maybe I'm not so advanced as I should be. So why also we chose the Four Immeasurables now is because there is a program which is called Buddhism from A to Z. And I think this is what I was supposed to do anyway in that program. So maybe for those who are not so familiar with the Buddhist path, it's good just to look at the steps that you do before you go there. So to look at the steps in Buddhism and in all forms of Buddhism is always good to look at the Four Noble Truths. That the Buddha is saying, it's like it's these four pillars where all of the Buddhist teachings are kind of standing on. Now, the Buddha is the first statement that he made is like, hey, look, there is suffering. Now, he didn't say you are suffering. He just said there is suffering. And why did he say that? Because none of us likes it. So we have to recognize it. And he didn't just talk about the suffering of pain, which usually that's what we concentrate on, isn't it? Suffering of pain of body, suffering pain of mind, or lack of something and this and that. But he went much deeper. Like he went to the suffering of change, that we have this dissatisfied mind, that no matter what we get, it's never enough. And this already is very, very subtle. Like we don't see it because we jump from this, or we optimize, like maybe not so much now, but maybe a few years ago, like here in Switzerland, the ultimate thing was you had to optimize. You have to optimize your body, you have to optimize your mind, your job, your house, your car. And this is most of the time we're busy with these kind of things. So the suffering of change is like, no matter how much we optimize, there's no end to that, because we are optimizing the wrong thing. We are optimizing outside instead of optimizing our mind, which has wrong views. So once we have understood this, that, life could be better, not outside, like not the house, not the car, not the partner, not the children, but your own mind. And then the mind, the life outside also becomes much easier and much better when we have worked with our mind, and especially when we see that we have wrong views. So he went on to say, so since nobody wants to suffer and everybody wants happiness, whatever happiness is a state of, maybe while you are listening to me, you can put in the chat just keywords, what you think happiness is, because it's important to pinpoint it so that we know that we're talking about something that people can relate to. So since nobody wants to suffer and everybody wants to be well, so it seems that it's not just a matter of, let me open the chat so I can see. It seems that it's not just a matter of, there. It's not just a matter of wishing it. It seems like there's causes or origin. So that's the second of the Four Noble Truths. It's like, why are we suffering? Why can't we live the way we want to live? Is of course because of outside conditions, but they depend on our actions that we have done in the past. And but especially why not is because we have wrong views. The view of like things existing out there from their own side objectively. And when we look for them, we can't really find them. And that we don't see with these wrong views, we don't see that feeling blessed, calm mind, a good sleep at night. That's very good, yeah. A warm beer is good for that, Adriana. That's what the Tibetan doctor says. I know it's disgusting, but if warm beer is really bringing you down, fearlessness, feeling at ease. Yeah, feeling at ease is such a good thing, just this word, when we savor it, feeling at ease, like nothing disturbing. It's like sababa, everything is, for the moment, is okay, no? So so why this is, it's like the Buddha is really showing us it's coming from our mind, because we are biased, we react all the time, and we react with attachment, and we react with aversion, not really seeing that the things we like, not necessarily they create happiness for the future. Like they're not making the mind stronger, they're just making us attached and actually even weaker. And also with aversion, like it makes the situation worse. Yeah, the aversion, it's not getting rid of the situation, it just makes it worse. So these are the causes for our suffering. So he really shows it is clearly in the mind. And then the third of the Four Noble Truths, it's because it's not the nature of the mind, they're just factors of the mind, we can do something about it. And then fourth Noble Truth is the path. Yeah. So in the Buddhist tradition, the first thing you do is you look after yourself. Because if you are not happy, then there's no way you can make others happy. And actually, you know, when we are unhappy, also we behave in a way that is quite strange sometimes, like not very considerate, not loving, not patient, not content, you know, all these lovely words you put in the chat here. When we suffer, all this pretty much is absent. Okay, so we start to take care of our actions. So first we practice what is called ethical conduct. We become a non-violent person. And it's totally, absolutely okay from the Buddhist point of view if you do that for your own sake. Because just imagine a world where everybody would kind of really be careful about their actions just because they don't want to suffer. Not even because they don't want to hurt others, but just because I don't want to suffer in the future, therefore I'm not going to hurt others. What do you think would happen in the world? Do you think the world would be a better place? Even if it's done out of selfish reasons? What do you think? Yeah. Thank you, Gidi. You are allowed to have an opinion, even though just with the, you know, if you want just the, would be better. Yeah. So you see, so this is the, because we are very concerned about ourselves. So we have to learn how to take good care of ourselves. So then afterwards, we might have that in mind already, that in the future, we want to take care of others. Yeah, that can be your far kind of going motivation. But then it's very, very important that first you know how to take care of yourself, because we are very selfish people, you know, whether we want to admit it or not. Yeah, so if we can't even take care of ourselves, it's a bit of an illusion that we can take care of others. So we practice ethical conduct. When we practice ethical conduct, maybe already this life, who knows? But because you don't have to work, you know, we don't have to walk around with a bad conscience. We don't have to walk around feeling guilty. If you choose ethical conduct, even though sometimes it can be expensive and sometimes maybe it's not so comfortable, but the reward that you get, I think, is really, somebody put happiness, a calm mind. The reward that you get is a calm mind. Yeah, if you don't feel stupid and naive because everybody around you is not ethical. Yeah, if you choose ethical conduct, that already very, very quickly, it really gives you peace of mind and a good sleep, Adriana. You know, you don't have to worry that you hurt somebody, you stole something, you did something that you can be prosecuted or whatever. So then your life becomes somehow easier. And when your life becomes easier, then it's easier also to practice concentration, like a calm mind. Concentration may be not such a good word, because for us, concentration is like, you know, squeezing like this. Shamatha, mental quietude, I think it's called. I think it is called in English. Like the mind who is stable, the mind is calm, the mind is clear, the mind is able to stay on its object. Yeah. So once your life gets easier, it's easier to sit down and practice this. And unfortunately, when our life is easy, we don't really use it so much for developing that kind of mind, like the calmly abiding mind. We kind of, when life is easy and then we want to go out and enjoy and have sense pleasures, and because life is good, so let's enjoy it. But this would be the moment when you feel that life is boring, instead of making it more interesting by finding lots of sense pleasures, you sit down and try to cut through this boredom by seeing that's the perfect moment now to practice shamatha, mindfulness, or it's not exactly the same thing, but anyway, to train the calm mind, because then the mind is not disturbed by excitement, aversion, all these kinds of things. So that would be the second thing. First is ethical conduct, then you practice mental quietude, and then with this mind who is very calm, very stable, and then becomes clear also, you would practice wisdom in order to chip away your wrong views of inherent existence. So that would be, and then you are not being reborn again and again and again under the control of your negative emotions. And this is one full vehicle that the Buddha taught. The Buddha didn't just teach, oh, you have to lead all other sentient beings to that state. It is perfectly okay. It is perfectly legitimate to just want that and to practice ethical conduct, concentration, or calm abiding, and then the wisdom of seeing reality as it is. That means you cut through your self-cherishing mind, or to your grasping at the real self because you see it doesn't exist, with that calmly abiding mind. And then you would go into what is called nirvana. You would not be reborn again. I think in the A to Z, we covered it until there. But then there is another set of, or there's another vehicle, or there's another system where the Buddha taught that, yes, it's okay to liberate yourself from what is called samsara, or the cycle of existence. And but it's also, it would be really worthwhile to become a fully awakened being, a full Buddha, and therefore to develop bodhicitta, to go all the way, not to just to get to liberate yourself from the hindrances to liberation, but also to liberate yourself from the hindrances to omniscience and to have skillful means. Omniscience means knowing everything, past, present, future, of all sentient beings, all the minds, knowing all phenomena. And this is what I really like about this whole thing about becoming enlightened. So all this happens in your mind spontaneously, uninterruptedly, and the best thing, effortlessly. So, just when I heard these three words, the mind of a Buddha has love, compassion, wisdom, like for all sentient beings, 24 hours every day of his existence, spontaneously, uninterruptedly, and effortlessly. Then I thought, oh, wow, I'm going for that. This is great. This is what I want, especially the effortless one. Problem is, you have to make a lot of effort until you get there. But the good thing is, it's not like in samsara. In samsara, we make so much effort for so many things, but then they don't last. We have to make effort for something else, and then for something else. And then as we get older, so the ones who are, a bit my age, I see some of you, or maybe even older, then you notice, all the effort we made to have a healthy body, to have a very clear and clever mind. Now, whether we want or not, it is decreasing, 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 and the effort you have to make to have a, nice shape in your body and being really fit, it becomes more hard and more time and more difficult and less result and all this. So I gave up. I kind of gave up to look after the body. So, not totally, but this obsessive thing. So this is what I'm saying. But there, if you practice the Buddha's path, the effort that you're making, at one point it will have an end and it will stay. So this is why I was kind of attracted to Buddhism, because I'm quite a kind of lazy person. Okay? So it is not, please don't make the mistake, especially when you are in the Mahayana vehicle, or as His Holiness keeps calling it, the Sanskrit vehicle, and not the Pali vehicle. So it's Hinayana, Mahayana. So His Holiness always now, he stopped using the words. So at the beginning, they were kind of, not using these words. They were kind of trying to find words that are not disrespectful for the two vehicles. So one point we were talking about the, now I'm using the word, okay? At one point we started to call the Hinayana vehicle the founder vehicle, because it is the founder vehicle, because without these teachings, what I just talked about until now, there is no way you will become a Buddha. So this is the basic teachings that you need to know, is the Four Noble Truths. But now His Holiness calls it the Pali tradition, because most of the sutras and all this is in the Pali language. And then the Mahayana is mostly in the Sanskrit language, in the Sanskrit tradition. So the Mahayana is like, yes, you want to liberate yourself, but why? Because you want to liberate all sentient beings. And he makes another distinction, which might be a little bit respectful. Anybody watched His Holiness this morning? Yeah, okay, me also, because he was mentioning it again. Yeah, like the Pali tradition is mostly based on scripture. So they have the sutras, they study those, which is a good thing. And the Sanskrit tradition, they analyze a lot. Yeah, so laughingly, then he says, in the Pali tradition, something is lacking, meaning this analyzing mind who is really looking whether this holds and whether this is true, whether it makes sense, whether you can apply it. So it's like, having food, but the teeth are missing. Because this is what the Buddha says. He says, don't believe anything I'm saying. Don't just take it on faith, but use it. And yeah, 6:30 in the morning. Okay. And it's 2 more days. So you can still watch. And it's about emptiness. It's the eloquent of speech by Tsongkhapa. And it's, Chandrakirti and all these things. And if you want the explanation on this, then listen to Geshe-ma, because she is teaching that on Sunday evenings for you. And then in November, she will do, I was very happy when I saw it. She will take these texts again and go through them with you. And I know I'm going off again, but these texts, especially for beginners, it feels like, oh, wow, this is so complicated. I don't understand. I can't bother with this. Please, please, please make the effort to listen to these things, even though you might say, well, it doesn't relate to my life and all this. Because as you keep hearing it, your mind starts to get familiar with it. And at the moment, like from all directions, we get teachings on these texts. Like we got it from Venerable Birgit in German, you get it from Geshe-ma. His Holiness is always coming back to Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti, because if you don't understand this on a deep level, the nature of reality, we go off, again, we're not getting the whole thing. And as His Holiness says, if you don't understand the two truths, like conventional reality and ultimate reality, you will not understand the Four Noble Truths, and you will definitely not understand that suffering can end. So it is kind of the basics, yeah, and it needs a bit of effort, and your head will get completely full. This is true, but the more you hear it, and at the moment, like so many teachers teach on Nagarjuna and Chandrakirti and Tsongkhapa, is like again, verse 14 from Shantideva in the 6th chapter, nothing does not get easier when you are familiar with it. So, we don't know how long these teachings will last. We don't know how long these masters who have realizations will be living and will be amongst us. We don't know, because Venerable Birgit, she is like Geshe-ma, also can teach in German. She's going off into long retreat. So, We don't know. So I really want to encourage you to make the effort to study these, at least to listen to these teachings. Yeah, so that would be again tomorrow morning. Okay, so coming back to the Mahayana or the Sanskrit tradition. So the emphasis there is, yes, I want to liberate myself, but not just for myself, but because I want to do this for all sentient beings. And you're not doing that because you feel so noble. You're actually doing it because out of a sense of, I owe it to other beings. Because we are totally dependent on other beings and we totally forget. You see, we behave as if this body is my body. As if I, my ego, the I, has created this body. This is why it is my body. When you are very happy about your body and very proud about your body, do you ever thank your parents that at one point when it went into their mind, they made love and then the sperm of your dad and the egg of your mom kind of united, and this is what became your body? Do you ever think like this? You can use it in the chat, yes or no. You know, when you look in the mirror and you think, wow, I'm really beautiful. Wow, I might finally lost my 10 kilos or whatever that I put on in the Corona times, like Fred said, me also, you know. Do you ever kind of think about your mom and your dad, that because they made this act that we call making love, and out of the sperm and the egg, this is now what got created? Yes, I feel thankful. Very good. Every morning, Adriana? Yo, wow. So it's good if you do that. To see that actually it's not my body, it's a gift from my parents. Because if my mom would have decided that she doesn't want to have children like me, I would not exist the way that I am at the moment. Yeah, so like this. So just for that, just for existing as a human, we are dependent on the parents, then we're dependent on so many beings. Just maybe for 1 minute, close your eyes and think how many beings had to do their job properly so that you can enjoy your food, your house, your transport, your entertainment, the computer, the clothes, whatever you know, your books. Yeah? Can you just close your eyes for, to just do a short reflection on this and close your eyes for 5 minutes? No, 5 minutes. For 2 minutes, and try to count them. Try to encompass them, try to have an experience of the enormity of sentient beings who have to do their jobs just for the food, the planting, the looking after what they planted, the harvesting, the transporting. Hard work, in the sun or in the rain here in Switzerland and in the cold. Thinking about how to process this, to keep it so that it doesn't spoil immediately. Now, many farmers, kind of going into organic farming, it's much more effort, it's much more work, it's much less result than the people who made your clothes. Again, the same process, making it, planning it, transporting it, selling it. Yeah. All the machines that we are using that make our lives so easy, starting from the electrical toothbrush so that you can have good teeth, the toothpaste that you're using, the soap, the pipes where the warm water comes out for your shower. If you are wearing glasses, we can still see because somebody invented glasses. If you have a hearing aid, you can still hear because somebody invented those. If you are older, luckily there are dentists who look after our teeth, because otherwise I would have no more teeth probably, or just totally rotten or whatever. I have a few artificial ones in my mouth. How many people had to create those? Yes, it's endless. Thank you, Adriana. Adriana, you seem to be the only one who is reacting to what I'm saying here. Innumerable. So what happens when you think like this? Look at you, really close your eyes and go inside. And experience the feeling that you get from that realization. What happens to the poor me? You can tell me in the chat what happens to the poor me. Poor, lonely, unhappy me. What happened to it? Gratitude. It shrinks. Yeah, exactly. Feeling thankful. Yeah. So it's so easy, basically. You only have to look at the cup of tea, starting from the cup, the water, the tea, the sugar, the milk, whatever, be it almond milk or cow milk, it doesn't matter. It comes from so many other beings. Of course, better if you do whatever. You can choose yourself what kind of milk you want to drink. Yeah. So if we want to be happy, if we feel depressed, if we feel lonely, especially in the lockdown now, look at all the things you have and try to count, how many beings did a good job, maybe for very low wages, so I can enjoy all these things. Then you become temporarily happier, but we still have problems, so we're still in samsara, but at least that. But the mind gets more spacious, and then it's easier to practice. And then we want to repay that kindness. And then we go, okay, how can I repay the kindness? So many beings today worked or did something for me so I can have the lifestyle I want and I need, okay? Now, what did I do for other beings? Nothing, I just take. So then we say, okay, the best way to repay that kindness is I purify my mind of all wrong use and unhelpful emotions, like unhelpful in the sense of it doesn't give me what I want. Anger doesn't give me what I want. Attachment maybe gives me what I want, but just for a short while. It makes me uneasy. So if you want to have, for the purpose of my life is to have peace of mind so others can benefit of it, then we really need to look, what is a helpful state of mind to get me there? And what is an unhelpful state of mind to get me there? I think these two words, negative and positive, I think they're not really saying what they should be saying, What is an unhelpful state of mind? To be happy for me. And of course, we want others to be happy. If you are happy, you want all others to be happy as well. It comes very spontaneously. If you're unhappy, you get jealous when others are happy. Yeah. So what is a helpful state of mind to get me there? What is an unhelpful state of mind to get me there? So then the Buddha came up with, of course, many helpful states of mind. There is 11 of those. If you have studied Lorik, then you know them. But we're not going into there because otherwise we won't start with the Four Immeasurables. But the Buddha came up with 4 mind states that are working like an immune system for our unhelpful states of mind. So I show them what they are. Can you see the screen? Can you see the text? Can somebody say yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'll make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so those are these 4 immeasurables, and we'll go through them one by one. And we'll start with equanimity, which is the last one, because I can't remember whether it's Asanga. I think Asanga said, for beginners, which I think we are, it is better to start with equanimity, because otherwise all these other ones, they become like biased. They're not quite, they're just for some people and others not. So that's why it is important to start with equanimity. But may all beings have happiness and its causes. This is love. This is what love is. Love is not more complicated than that. Being happy or a wish for all beings to have happiness. And again, you know, with the happiness, what you wrote in the chat, very good. That kind of happiness, peaceful mind, calm mind, open heart, absence of suffering, absence of delusions, these kind of things, these kind of happiness, not the happiness that comes from harming others, not that one, okay? And the causes for this kind of happiness is ethical conduct. So that's love. The second one is compassion. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. So again, compassion is a mind that is a little bit more active, that gives us more energy than love. Yeah, compassion gets engaged. And again, you know, this afternoon we talk about love, this morning about equanimity, this afternoon about love, tomorrow about compassion and joy. The joy is the next one. May all beings never be separated from happiness that knows no suffering. And then the fourth one is equanimity. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment and anger, that hold some close and others distance. If you want to find them, you know, you can find them anywhere on the internet. If you just put in, suddenly I'm a queen. Yeah, this is great. Thank you. If you put into internet Four Immeasurables, you have commentaries and all this. I have here a very short commentary by Thich Nhat Hanh, which I found many years ago. So I'll just read it out. So then you will see we see why we practice these four immeasurable. When I talk about practice, we train them. And in order to train them, again, you need basic awareness or mindfulness, however you want to call it, like the ability to see what's going on in your mind. Yeah, the ability to go with the mental factor of clarity or awareness. I really like awareness. I prefer it to mindfulness. Awareness, knowing what is going on, to be able to see the other mental factor that is operating at the moment, whether it's self-concern, whether it's really concern for others, and then not just to just look, you know, and say, oh, yeah, attachment, attachment, but to use thoughts in order to transform it. And one thought would be, hey, this is not what I want. Yeah. So awareness is not just to sit and just, you know, just to observe. I mean, that, of course, that's the main object. But then you adjust, you know, or you stop, like when you see that anger, and you shut up instead of saying something. You shut up. This is what awareness is for. This is what mindfulness is for, in order to train ethical conduct, so that we see that we're not creating more negative karma. It's not even to create happiness. By abstaining from negative actions, then happiness will come. Yeah. And it's also not to, you know, people just sit and they think, oh, this is just to have a calm and peaceful mind. Yeah, that will be a side effect. But the purpose of awareness and mindfulness is to see when you start to engage in non-ethical conduct, and then to be able to stop. This is what it's for. So these four mind states of equanimity, love, compassion, and wisdom, it can be trained through words, through thoughts. And it's quite easy, actually, and we'll do that in the meditation time. Equanimity is a little bit more complex. We need to see how we are not equanimous, but love, compassion, and especially joy is enough to think certain things, and the mind will go into that state. And then slowly, you know, the mind gets used to those states, and then we don't need the thoughts anymore. And whomever we see, the heart opens. When they're happy, we're happy. When they suffer, we see whether we can do something, and so on. And it comes, even though we're not enlightened yet, it can then come quite spontaneously. But at the beginning, we really have to experience those mind states. We have to know how they feel. And very often, actually, because our mind also has natural intelligence, very often when we very clearly with the neutral mind experience how it feels, then either it develops by itself, or the unhelpful ones, they disappear, like naughty children, when they are doing something and they think you're not there, and then you come and you see them, whoops, immediately they stop. This is a little bit our ego. When you look at it and say, hey, I saw you, then it goes, oh, okay. It's quite interesting when you practice basic awareness or mindfulness, that how quickly things actually kind of transform. And without the mind who is able to stay on the object, without the mind who is able to make the step out of the emotion, then we have an intellectual knowledge, but not much will transform. Okay. So the Buddha said to his son Rahula, he said, Rahula, practice loving kindness to overcome anger. Loving kindness has the capacity to bring happiness to others without demanding anything in return. Practice compassion to overcome cruelty. Compassion has the capacity to remove the suffering of others without expecting anything in return. Practice sympathetic joy to overcome hatred. Sympathetic joy arises when one rejoices over the happiness of others and wishes others well-being and success. Sometimes also with the sympathetic joy, it is to overcome like jealousy. We'll go into what it's not, or what the opposite is. Practice non-attachment to overcome prejudice. So that would be equanimity. Thich Nhat Hanh uses like different words here, but it's okay. Non-attachment is the way of looking at all things openly and equally. This is because that is, myself and others are not separate. Do not reject one thing only to chase after another. So here we would say enemies and friends. Now he says, the Buddha says, I call these the four immeasurables. Practice them and you will become a refreshing source of vitality and happiness for others. Okay. So with equanimity, so the definition is not to distinguish between friend, enemy, or stranger, but to regard every sentient being as equal. Equal in wanting happiness and equal in not wanting suffering. Now, this is something that we have to become familiar with it, because our anger usually says, this one deserves to suffer because he's a bad person. And this one, no, should never suffer because it's my friend. Yeah. Feeling lucky, suddenly I'm a queen. It seems that especially now, time of COVID-19, social distance, adopting these four is almost the only thing we can do. Yeah, it's like, and then you're happy. You see, this is it. It's really, I mean, if you practice these four immeasurables, it is the immune system for the mind. Yeah. Like your unhelpful emotions have no chance to arise. If you make it really clear in your mind, this is what I want. You need to want this. You need to want this, and you need to study a little bit to see what it is not. Yeah. So first is the definition. What is it? So it is not to distinguish between friend, enemy, or stranger. It doesn't mean that somebody who is out to harm you, you should not distance yourself from that person, or you should not even totally separate from that person. It doesn't mean that, okay? It only means that you still wish this person well. It is a clear-minded, tranquil state of mind, not being overpowered by unhelpful emotions, mental dullness, or agitation. Now, so these are what it is not, it's not mental dullness, it's not agitation, it's not anger, it's not attachment, and all the other unhelpful emotions. But it has something that is what is called a near enemy. Yeah, so the enemy to equanimity is a mind that is totally kind of, how to say, like the waves in the ocean when there's a storm. not seeing anything clear, but being very disturbed, very agitated. This is the word I was looking for. Okay, so the near enemy to this, what it sometimes looks like, is indifference. It is tempting to think that just not caring is equanimity, but that is just a form of another kind of egotism. You know, you don't want to look, you don't want to, you know, there's suffering, you prefer not to look because it agitates you, but it's still there, you know. And then like this, His Holiness also, he says, your own suffering, you have to look at it whether you want or not, because you're experiencing it. But the suffering of others, you can look away. So to look at the suffering of others, and if you're able to do that, it shows that you have courage, because it hurts. It's not a nice thing to what we see, yeah? So, and it's necessary also. But also we, you know, then we want to help and we feel guilty or feel responsible. That's another thing you can learn, not to feel responsible for everybody's happiness, yeah? But if you can do something, of course, do it. But don't get into guilt states or shame states or, you know, depression states if you can't help. So that's important. But it's also not caring. And especially for Buddhists, the danger is when we see suffering that we start to use emptiness and impermanence in the wrong way. Like, you know, we can't bear to see the suffering, and then we start to, you know, to console ourselves a little bit. Oh, but everything is empty. It's just a projection of the mind. It's their karma. It is, you know, it's impermanent, and all these kinds of things. With this, can you feel the mind state in the way I'm talking? Okay, so then you have to see, is this the reason why I'm saying this? Because, you know, I don't care. I don't want to care. It's too heavy. It's too much. So then we start to use these wonderful teachings in the wrong way. Because when we look at suffering, if it starts to get overwhelming, then you need to think about emptiness in order to kind of, you know, calm down a little bit. We'll talk about this later on. What to do when we go overboard with these four immeasurables, because you can be totally overwhelmed by them, especially compassion, and you get depressed or angry against the aggressors. So then you need to counteract it. So actually, these four immeasurables, it's like playing a game, you know, it's like learning to surf or to ski. You know, if you go too much that side, then you need to counterbalance it. If you go too much this side, then you need to counterbalance it. I find it very, very interesting to work with these states of mind. And also it's not too complicated like emptiness and stuff like that, you know. It's feasible. We can really experience it, and we can really, really start to work with those. Okay, so the opposite of equanimity is, for example, anxiety, worry, stress, and paranoia. So then, you know, in order to counteract those, we take Shantideva, verse number 10 in the 6th chapter. If you can do something about it, go ahead and do it. Why worry? If you cannot do something about it, then just relax, because you can't do anything about it either. So, or, you know, some other verses where he says, if you think it's in the nature of these beings to be bad, relax, because it's in the nature. You cannot, you know, you cannot do anything. If you get upset because they're only occasionally like this, then also don't get upset because they're only occasionally like this. You know, if you have a problem with anger and stress and anxiety, really study the 6th chapter of Shantideva's Bodhicharyavatara. It has so many tools how to relax your mind. So many tools. I mean, it's amazing. This is such a toolbox, you know, for our anger. Okay. So the stress, the worry, the anxiety is caused by dividing people into good and bad. One can worry forever if a good friend may not be a bad person after all, and thus spoiling trust and friendship. Trust. Trust is a very, very, very tricky thing also. You see, we get hurt because we trust in a very naive way. Our trust is full of expectations how people should behave with us. And this is not trust, this is expectation. And when we see our own mind, how sometimes we treat people when we're not well, or when we don't have time, or when we're stressed, we shouldn't get hurt when other people treat us like this, because that's in the nature of samsaric beings. Sometimes they like us, sometimes they don't, the same as I do with others. Yeah. But so, it's like so many times I heard when people are really, feel really hurt, the sentence that goes with it, oh, but I trusted him so much. So what does it mean? Again, you can use your opinions in the chat. Does it mean we have to distrust? Because distrust these days has become a virtue. If you trust, you're naive, So what kind of trust should we develop? We need to have the right expectation, meaning what is the right expectation? I give you a clue because I don't have that much time left before we have to break and then the meditation. No expectations. That would be the right expectation, exactly. A careful trust, yeah, with caution, seeing how, not the nature of the person, but seeing this person is even more overcome by delusions than I am, and then be careful. That's okay. And also a trust that, yes, this is samsara. What does the Buddha say? First Noble Truth. You can put it in the chat. To trust in the nature of people. To trust that underneath everybody can be good. That's a good one, Tom. To see that all these negativities are just layers of misconceptions, and then anger and attachment is coming up. Lower our expectations. Yeah, lowering is already a good thing. To trust in the nature of people. Yeah, I really like that. To really start to see, okay, at the moment there's a storm going on here, but underneath, like the ocean, underneath there's stillness. Also, this person has the ability to be a good person. Yeah. And what happens, when they hurt me or harm me? Why are they hurting or harming me? Together with wisdom, yes, Maya, thank you very much. And worldly wisdom, not just the wisdom of emptiness, but be wise, I mean, if somebody is an alcoholic and totally drunk, and you see he's already very aggressive, and you go there and you don't know the person, and you say like, oh, can I help you? And it's like, come on, be wise. Loving ourselves, forgiving, trust rather than being angry. Yeah, exactly. Also to see, loving ourselves in the midst also when we are angry, to see how we ourselves, we are carried away by these unhelpful emotions. So we can be forgiving, that we know people don't choose to be angry. We're not choosing to be angry. Anger comes just like this. Nobody wants to be a bad person, to trust that one. But because of negative emotions, because of the strength of these, this self-grasping, self-cherishing, the negative emotions, like the door to these unhelpful emotions is wide, wide, wide open. You should trust based on observing the person in front of us, come without expectation, course, yeah. And then whatever good happens, we're happy. And if we get hurt, well, we try to protect ourselves. It's okay to protect yourself, even with equanimity. And then if we do get hurt, then also we put it into relation. If it's words, come on, it's words. Yeah. With the words, why do we get hurt is the second arrow. If you want to know what that is, you need to come on Wednesday, because next Wednesday I'll read you the sutra of the second arrow, I thought. Also, A result which one needs to avoid is apathy with equanimity as a result of not caring. Equanimity is the basis for unconditional altruistic love, compassion and joy for others' happiness and bodhicitta. When we discriminate between friends and enemies, how can we ever want to help all sentient beings? So these four immeasurables, especially equanimity, is the preparation for bodhicitta. Yeah. Preparing the mind to have an open heart for all sentient beings. Equanimity is an unselfish, detached state of mind, which also prevents one from doing negative actions. If one tries to befriend an enemy for a moment, he could become your friend. You know what? In simple ways, what I always say: if you would treat your friends the way you treat the people you dislike, they would not want to be your friends anymore very, very quickly. Yeah, just imagine the way sometimes how we, disrespectful and not caring and like this. If you would treat the people you dislike the way you treat your so-called friends, it's a big chance they will start liking you and they will become your friends. Yeah, so try to treat everybody as if they are your friend, but at the moment they're overcome with the sickness of negative emotions, of unhelpful emotions. I haven't got used to the word unhelpful emotions yet. I'm still using negative. Disturbing emotion is also a good word. Like, the mind is disturbed, is agitated. Okay, so, this is about it for the information for equanimity, and then we do the meditation on it. If you do too much equanimity, I think what it is, you can become a bit apathic. I don't know where I have those notes, what you have to counteract it with. Because they're suffering, no, not to be afraid to trust is exactly, not to feel stupid. You see, because trust is it's really funny with the Facebook. I don't know if you see it, because I'm doing the Facebook page for our center here in Bern. So, this personal Facebook page. So I had to put my name, which I think is a good thing, so that you cannot just put Lonku. And since I put my name, everybody's sending me messages that know me. So it's really funny. Also, I put a picture of the Gompa, so it's really funny. I get all these messages all of a sudden, but they should be for the center and not for me. So if you have aimed equanimity, so if you have too much equanimity, you can become indifferent and passive, and you have to counteract it with love, like unaimed love, extending it to all. That you're not becoming too blasé, too it's all the same, and it's all empty and like that. So this is what you counteract it with. Okay, so we have 15 minutes break. Please take the break, have a cup of tea or relax, and then we do the meditation on it. Okay? Because the good thing about these four immeasurables, they're not complicated to understand. What we have to understand in equanimity, just how I distinguish, this is my friend. I'm not saying we're going like, you are a nice person. I'm not saying I see you as a nice person. I'm not saying I see you as a bad person. I say you are, and then they become like this, as if they are bad or good from their own side. This is what our deluded mind is saying, and then we're totally convinced that I saw somebody who's raising the hand. So then we're totally convinced that they are like this. Yeah, do you want to say something? Please do open your microphone. Yeah. Can equanimity encourage others to continue to hurt others? No, because that's what I'm saying. Just a moment, Laura. Laura, just a moment. I would like to answer the question. When it says, can't equanimity encourage others to continue to hurt others? Not at all. if you want to, you see, equanimity is you see everybody as your child. So if your child is constantly hurting others, you are trying to stop. You're trying to stop. You're trying to stop. I hear an echo. I don't know why it is. You're trying to stop. You're trying to stop that child to hurt others, but with compassion and with love, not with anger. Nadav, does that answer your question? Now, Leora, okay, go ahead. You have to open the mic again.
Is equanimity translated to Sanskrit upeksha?
Upeka, yeah.
Yeah?
I think so. I'm not, you see, I'm from the Sanskrit tradition. I am not very, people who are in the Vipassana, who are doing Vipassana, it's Maitri is for love, isn't it? Karuna is for compassion. Upeka, is Upeka joy or is it equanimity?
Equanimity, I think.
Equanimity, what is joy?
I don't remember.
Anybody knows? We can find out in the break. So for those people, because they use these Pali words, yeah. So we usually use the English words. I don't even know the Tibetan words for this.
Mudita.
Huh?
Mudita.
Mudita is joy.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Noah.
I have a question.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I would really like to make a break. And so, because otherwise I'm going over and over and over again, is like, so we make a break, we make a 15 minutes break, then we do the meditation and your question might get answered because we do a kind of reflection. I'll guide you through it and it might get answered. If it's still not answered, you can put it in the chat. Also for the others who have questions. And of course, you know, if then goes with all the questions, I won't be able to see them all the time. I feel very strong pain when I see other people suffer. Yeah, so we talk about compassion tomorrow, okay? Now we're just with the equanimity still. Okay, so we have a break. It's 10:05, so we have a break until 11 your side, yeah? So we have a break until 20:00, okay? Good. Perfect. Thank you very much. Oh,